As it stands right now, Indiana football and head coach Curt Cignetti have a top 25 recruiting class. Can they continue to climb the ranks?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, today is a fun episode because we're talking Indiana football recruiting, and nobody better to talk recruiting than our Locked On recruiting expert, Brian Smith, who is the best in the business, also an IU grad. So we always like to bring him on and talk a little ball. And look, it's hard not to notice what Indiana football is doing on the recruiting trail. Are they a top 5 class in the country? No. Are they top 15? No, not yet. But they are top 25 and kind of flirting in that range. And maybe nobody just massive stands out to you yet, Brian, but they just continue to add talent here in Bloomington.
Well, they got 2 more players just today, yesterday. Like, this is consistency. I'm going through the list, and it's every 3 to 5 days. Like, they get somebody, maybe 10-day window. It's like you said, it's very consistent. And Jaden Williams is the guy we talked about earlier this year. He's the one that committed today. He's out of Massillon, Washington High School in Ohio. He's a thumper. I mean, it's just consistent. Now, they don't have a 5-star kid or anything like that, but they got plenty of talent. They're even stealing kids from Wisconsin. They've got the best kid from Indianapolis, in my opinion, in Casimir Hicks, DB receiver. He can play about any skill spot. This might end up being Indiana's best class ever. It's possible. Still a long way to go because December is when signing day comes around. But if they have another good season, they don't have to go 11-1. But if they have another good season this year, they could flip a few more kids. I'm sure some people are curious to see, okay, how good is Indiana really? Can they do it 2 years in a row when they're the hunted, not the hunter? And that's verifiable. I get it. But if they do, if they go 8 wins or more this season, this will be a top 25 class, I think. But still a long way to go. And it's fascinating because they're recruiting nationally. Like when I was growing up, Indiana did not recruit like this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's new territory with Curt Cignetti, who won in year 1. He's got a contract extension. He's a highly paid coach in college football, and he's proven that he's not scared to get kids right here at home or go and branch out to several states. And you and I have had this conversation before. I mean, 7, 8 states now represented in this top 25 class for Indiana. And you said it, there's a long way to go. But the fact that June looks the way it does, we're going to talk about kids who have been taking visits and that Indiana is in on here in just a little bit. But the fact that it's a busy month of June has to be a good sign for what the future holds, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't do well now, it's over. Like the next 3 weeks are everything in recruiting. There will be between now and about July 10th, somewhere right in there, roughly just Power 4, 350, 400 kids commit, give or take. Yeah, it's just everybody is doing it that way because everybody wants to get the money on the visits. In case you don't know, yes, money exchanges hands on visits anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It never happens,
Come
right?
on, no.
But that's why, and they're all committing before their seasons for the most part. There's a handful of holdouts, but not many. So it's just going to be recruiting Armageddon, especially once we get to about June 20th, 22nd through there. It'll just be full throttle. You just hit refresh. So Indiana's been a part of that. And looking at the list, again, just kind of keep going down. They've got a couple big D tackles. They never get kids like this early. I'm like Gabriel Hill kid from Naperville, just outside Chicago. He can play.
Yeah.
They never would have got that kid 3 years ago. They would have got that kid. Now he's committed to Indiana. So it's kind of cool. I know there's going to be certain teams that are always around like Michigan or Ohio State that are going to be big-time programs, but Indiana is trending up. It's by far the most trending program in the Big Ten, and I never thought I would say that about my alma mater.
Makes you proud, though, doesn't it, Brian? Makes you happy. It
Oh,
puts
cool.
a smile on your face, right? And when you start
It's
getting
cool.
kids from, yeah, not just Indiana, but Wisconsin, offensive linemen from Wisconsin. You've got now a pair of linebackers with Jaden Williams, who committed right before we hit record, and then Henry Olinger's the other Ohio linebacker. I mean, you've got some dudes in this class that aren't, again, going to make major headlines, but you come to Indiana, you get some playing time, and I think a coaching staff that early on has proven they could develop. Maybe that sends a little bit bigger of a message of, hey, maybe Indiana's a place that you can go and actually be productive and maybe get seen by NFL scouts.
I think that's the fair way to look at this. Look, Indiana is, again, it's not USC, it's not Florida, it's not Georgia. I get that, but I've never seen a flip like they did last year for a program that traditionally is at the bottom of the league.
Sure.
They caught everybody's attention. 11-1 is 11-1, and they've kept their staff together for the most part, and they've recruited hard. They're getting kids on campus now that they don't normally get. I was also looking at their OV list. It's not the same one that USC has, but it's right there below it. And
right,
this will be a top 25 class for the way they're recruiting, barring them just falling on their face. Like, you're going to get some of the kids just by osmosis, and they've already got some of these kids committed. This is kind of cool. Like, going through the list, like they got a kid that's committed to Louisville that might visit. We'll see if he does. He's out of Booker High School I'm familiar with in Sarasota. Really good player, Cavante Hugan. That's just like one example of like guys are trying to go after. They didn't normally get those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't even get them on campus. They got a kid from Oscar Smith High School in Chesapeake, Virginia, Travis Johnson. It's one of the best receivers in the country.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be visiting, like, that's one of those things where, like, 2 years ago, there's no chance that kid comes to IU for a bit. He already actually did. He was in May. It's just like, that's a sign that you've kind of earned it. I don't know of a coach that's flipped a program faster than Cignetti in a year. That was a downtrodden program. You'd have to really, really dig deep to get me to go with somebody over him. So first off, props. Secondarily, now you just got to finish. The next couple of weeks will take care of itself on that.
There's a question that I'm going to ask that IU fans are going to be really upset that I ask it, but with as crazy as June is and then signing coming up in December, are you concerned with guys who are committed to Indiana, 13 total commits as of right now, or anybody that commits within the next, 3 weeks or so? Any concern on Indiana not being able to hold on to those guys with big hitters like other teams in the Big Ten or the SEC or whatever coming in and poaching a player if Indiana jumped on somebody early?
If you don't lose 2 or 3 kids in a recruiting cycle, it's borderline miracle. Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, everybody loses players.
Sure.
So the notion you're not going to have decommitments is just not realistic. It's not, do you lose players? It's which ones do you lose? It's quality over quantity. Like, again, they got big time visits still coming up, like Cameron McHaney, the kid out of IMG Academy. Can't lose the D tackles. You can't lose like anybody that you get at spot, like offensive tackles. There's just none of them in the portal. So your linemen, you got to keep. Those are the keys. Like the kid they got today, Jaden, that's a guy that's probably going to start for you multiple years.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. So I'm not worried about if they lose anybody. It's who they lose if they do. So, and the other part of this is if somebody's trying to flip your kids, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yep.
This is a dirty business. Hey, man, they're going to try to flip Louisville's kids. They're going to try to flip Purdue's kids. They're going to try to flip Illinois' kids. That's just the way it is. Again, if they go out and win this season, I would expect it. And by the way, I'll go ahead and throw out a prediction. They're going to beat Purdue by 30 this year. That will help.
Yes. As long as we beat Purdue, everything else is fine. As long as we can do it in basketball, then things would really be trending in the right direction. We're talking Indiana football recruiting as a top 25 class put together for now. It's going to grow, but just by how much, who's coming, who's already been here, and who could be next. We'll talk about that with Brian Smith after this here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Look, there's nothing like the NBA playoffs, especially when the hometown team is involved. And the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live. And this year's matchups are already delivering. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip off. And with killer last minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. If you're in the state of Indiana and you're trying to go and see the Pacers play in the finals, Game Time is the place you need to get your tickets. It is a no-brainer right now. The series is back in Indy. Go check it out, and maybe we'll get a game 6, or hey, maybe the series will be over. So don't miss your chance. Get to Game Time right now and take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back talking with Brian Smith, our Locked On recruiting expert. He's also the host of the Portal podcast, so be sure that you are checking that out. Now is the best time to be there because June is an unbelievable month. And for a team like Indiana, Brian, just keep bringing in big-time names. The one we mentioned earlier that I want to take a deeper dive in is Luke Fahey, the quarterback from, not from Indiana. We can tell you that. He's a kid that you and I have had discussions about. He has seen Indiana, and sounds like he might just like Indiana as well.
Mission Viejo, it's one of the best programs in the greater Los Angeles area. I know they won the state title his sophomore year. I'm not sure if they won it this past season. He's about 6'1", 190 pounds, a little bigger. True dual threat quarterback, but he would prefer to play from the pocket, which fits Cignetti's offense. He's played big-time football at the high school level and 7-on-7. He's California Power's quarterback. It's one of the best programs in the country. They travel the nation, and he knows what it looks like against the best DBs in the country, and I've seen him shred them. So I'm curious to see what he does this fall, but before then, he's probably going to make a decision. Stanford, Indiana, several other schools have been involved. I don't know if this is accurate, but on 3, I believe it was, he's got a visit lined up with Ohio State coming up. So that, if that is accurate, that puts things in perspective. Like, he's obviously very good.
Yeah.
When was the last time Indiana competed with Ohio State for a quarterback commitment? Allow me to answer that for you. It's never happened.
Yeah.
So
hey, first time for everything, Brian. First time for everything.
This is how it looks when you get good. To beat teams on the field, you got to beat them in recruiting first, more often than not. There's a few exceptions, but not many. This is how you do it. So Indiana's not going to just go beat them for like D tackles that live in Ohio necessarily. That's probably not realistic, but getting a quarterback that's probably going to have to sit the bench for 3 years at Ohio State before he plays, that's a possibility. And getting a kid that would fit the system and be dynamic. Again, I know Luke, he's a great kid. He would be a massive pickup for Indiana. He'd be their best recruit. Now the question is, what do they got to do to get him, and what's his timeline? I haven't messaged him in a while, but this is kind of that point where, like, if you're really going to make a step up, you got to win a few of these battles. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know if that official visit to Ohio State will transpire, but it's on the 20th of June, if I remember correctly. If it does, and Indiana can still get him, that's a feather in your cap for years to come in recruiting. It's something you can point to.
Yeah.
And again, I would be surprised if he didn't end up being Indiana's starting quarterback at some point down the road. So we'll see how it goes, but he would be a great fit for Cignetti and his offense.
Well, he's one of those, you said it, it's a domino effect, right? You bring him into a recruiting class, he all of a sudden could bring several names with him and receivers and running backs. And heck, you even get offensive linemen that want to go play for a guy like him. And whether it's here locally or the surrounding states, we've seen Indiana do it already. He could bring kids like that in. And speaking of wide receivers, Jaquaden Guilford is a kid from right here in Indiana, 3-star, who has seen Indiana, and all signs lead to Indiana being in a good spot with him. But talk about an in-state kid that Indiana could go after who, he's a 3-star, but one that I think the Hoosiers really, really like.
I think he's better than a 3-star, but that's just my opinion. Penn State went after him early. He committed, decommitted. He's over 6 foot. He can really, really run. He's playing in the Fort Wayne area. This kid that Indiana doesn't normally get either.
Yeah.
Like, he's that rare guy that has the speed and the size to score from anywhere. If you can't get him, I don't think Notre Dame's involved. I don't think Ohio State's involved. Like, if you don't get him, like, I'd like to know why. And no offense, he can't go to Purdue. Let me just go ahead and throw that out there. That can't happen. that would be very bad considering the state of that football program, if you want to call it a football program.
Yeah.
So they're really bad. They're really bad.
You can keep saying it. It's okay. You can any way you want to put that it's never going to happen for Purdue. They're never coming back. They're just dead in the water, and it's over for Purdue football.
Right now, it really looks like it. Man, they were bad last year. That was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
We enjoyed it, though.
Well, that too. I just think that this is the kind of player, again, if you can pair him with Fahey, as you noted, Indiana doesn't get those kids, man. Yeah. They're going to be able to sell it because they threw it all over the lot last year, especially in big moments. They really, like that Nebraska game and a few of the other ones where they just went out and blasted teams. I think that's a selling point. Let's see if they can get him, maybe a couple more guys. And I'm particularly I'm sure the visit list will continue to grow. Are they going to get any of the Georgia, Florida, Texas, California kids, the skill guys from down there? Historically, the best skill guys are from the warm weather states. That's not going to change because they run track year round. I'd imagine Indiana's got to get one or two of those. I'm scanning the list. I mean, I've seen a few of the names, but that's probably my biggest question remaining. They're already ahead of where I thought they would be with the linemen, way ahead. Yeah. They still have Cameron McCaney from IMG coming up. Maybe the most important guy on the board, not named Luke Fahey. He's a D tackle out of IMG, but he doesn't visit till June 20th. Everything else, I'm really curious about the skill guys, corners, wide receivers, running backs, explosiveness, because they should be able to sell the wide receiver position pretty easy.
I think they can after this year too. I think they're still going to throw the football all over the place with Mendoza, who is getting NFL love, NFL scout love, and you're bringing back two great receivers. I mean, I think Indiana will be able to sell offense to recruits moving forward, even after this season too.
It's kind of hard to imagine with the two veterans they have coming back. The offense now is probably fully installed. It probably wasn't even all the way installed until towards the end of last season. They should be pretty much plug and play. And for people that don't know, Mendoza, I've seen him play live. Very smart guy. He'll pick up the system quicker than most. So I'm not worried about him being assimilated into the Indiana offense. They should score points. The other thing with this, a few of the kids they may or may not get now, coming back to campus, going to games this fall, and some players that maybe are committed elsewhere. Maybe it's a kid from Syracuse. Maybe it's a kid committed to Virginia. I don't know where. There are probably going to be some kids that come to see Indiana play live this fall that we're not even talking about now, don't have OVs. They could end up in this class. Indiana is a very unique experiment because there's no other program like them in the last few years. Yeah. Maybe not in the last decade. I mean, what were they, 3-9 or something like that? The year before, they were horrid. Yeah. And then they go 11-1. Now I know they got the portal and this and that, but still to flip the whole script like that is unbelievable. I think they're still going to work off that kinetic energy quite a bit from last year. And I'm not saying they'll have the exact same magic. That's probably not realistic, but it will help them in recruiting. And they need to get a foundation where their two deep is better. They needed more help than they had last year in the depth department. They should be headed that direction without as much help from the portal. Got to get to the point where they can get the elite kids in high school, and it starts this fall by winning more games, getting more guys on campus.
Well, one thing I've noticed here in June, too, is a lot of guys who are already verbally committed are coming back for their OV. They're taking a visit. They're coming back and just talking, just chatting, just seeing the coaches, seeing the campus, seeing other recruits at the same time. I mean, that has to be a good sign, right, for Indiana as a whole, and use your commits as recruiters, right? I mean, all of that has to be a good thing.
That's what every school does. It's an interesting strategic model. Like Dabo down at Clemson put everybody on the same visit on May 30th, all the commits, everybody. Yeah. That's a little unusual. Indiana's spreading it out because they want the uncommitted kids every weekend to get a little more attention and to be around some of the commitments. That's a little bit more normal. So Cignetti's crew is going with that. And it's, if you look at it, a couple kids here, a couple kids there, I like that approach better because it's not as far away from signing day. It's a little bit more recent to when they're going to commit. I'd rather have the June 13th and June 20th weekends, which Indiana does with key guys. Again, Cameron McCaney is the one in particular I'm curious about. He's June 20th, the IMG defensive tackle. He's about 310, 315 pounds. They need guys like that. Having your commitments around, Jacob, you are absolutely correct. That's going to help.
Well, there is a lot happening with Indiana recruiting and a lot outside of their control for now with this. It's called a house settlement. I think that's what they're calling this that happened last week. We'll talk about that with Brian about how that's impacting recruiting, how it impacts the portal, and how college football has changed forever. That's coming up right here on the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, Brian Smith, our Locked On recruiting expert, also host of the Portal Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Be sure you check that out wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, just search the Portal Podcast. And it's the talk of the town, man. It's the talk of just about every single podcaster, radio person, anybody that is connected to a microphone, they're talking about the house settlement. It happened last Friday night. The Band-Aid has been ripped off. Revenue sharing is here in college athletics. And there's a million different branches and ways to go with this. But for you and for us in particular here, recruiting and transfer portal, the biggest changes moving forward will be what?
I think the biggest change, the portal's aside right now, they're discussing whether they're going to try to go to one portal window or two. Let me make this real easy for you. If they try to go to one, there'll be about 5 billion lawsuits in 2 seconds. Trying to limit players right now does not go over very well in society.
No.
So that's just throw that out to the side. As for the house settlement, there's 2 parts you need to know. Number one, $20.5 million up to for these major programs. Indiana will be one of them that you have for the entirety of your athletic department. However, football will get about 15 million in most places. Maybe up to 17 million at Alabama or something like that. Because Indiana wants to win at basketball and they just got a new coach, I'm curious to see what the number is. Yep. Indiana's got good facilities and all that, but it's about retaining your players with NIL and going out and building your roster, which they're trying to do in football all at once. It's going to be really fascinating in Indiana. How much money do they each get? Because IU basketball needs to completely redo their high school recruiting. It hasn't been very good. So they may need more money than what Cignetti would like to give up. That's going to be an infighting deal, I got a feeling, and I don't know how that's going to work. The other part, and this is where it gets nuts, if you go past that money, which Indiana will, whatever your collective is, any deal done over $600 goes through the clearinghouse. This is where it's just complete stupidity 101. If you don't like our government, which I doubt many people listening do, you know that bureaucracy runs the day, and it's creeping into college football. Here's the problem. Any deal goes over 600 has to go there. Well, what if a kid has like 2 days to decide because he's down to Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State. The other 2 schools already got their deal set with Indiana, whatever recruit Indiana wants, but this one takes longer. They're like, we need to know today.
Yeah.
How does that work? Recruiting is about right this moment. There aren't days to wait. Every school is going to have a problem with this. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. It's going to go back to old school. There's going to be bags of cash involved all over college football all over again.
Ah, great.
There's no way that you cannot control how the money works.
Mm-mm. And I mean, they want a paper trail. Is that right? They at least want it all written out. They want to track it and make sure that it's all being done the correct way, but it's impossible to do that.
Well, even if the deal, like this is something else that teams will do in that situation, it's going to start happening if it's not already. Mm-hmm. We'll just sign this deal X because we know it'll get approved, and we'll give you a McDonald's bag with $50,000 extra cash.
Jeez.
So it's a complete farce.
Yeah.
Complete farce.
Yeah.
Again, it's the timing stuff. How quickly is government in anything?
It's not. It's not. Yeah.
So my guess is Indiana or any other school is probably going to get fed up real quick. I don't see how this is going to work. The idea is cool, but you're not going to limit what schools, and even like the state of Tennessee, they put out a law, and I don't know if this is admissible, that anything that came from the house settlement wasn't going to be good in their state. Well, what are you going to do if they try to penalize you and vice? Oh yeah, literally.
Oh my gosh, man.
So they just like, we're going to run by our own rules, but play in the same league. Like nobody likes what they're trying to do. And I'm not even sure why government got involved, but I guess the NCAA just doesn't want to get the backlash.
Yeah.
They don't want to get sued. That's my
I mean,
guess.
you'd think they'd be used to it by now. That's all they've been is sued the last couple of years. And I saw a notification the other day, or maybe it was right before we came on. It was that the NCAA chairman, he came out and said the House settlement avoided the NCAA from bankruptcy. And it's like that something about that doesn't.
There's no way.
That's what I said. I said there's no
The
possible
NCAA
way.
tournament, if they're bankrupt, that means there's a bunch of people siphoning money illegally that need to be sent to federal prison. That's what that means.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a broken system anyway. The NCAA has been proven time and time again that they have no actual power. But now here we are. And all of this, like you said, it sounds good on paper. It sounds good in a meeting or in over lunch, but you start to actually execute. And all of this July 1, right? That's the day that we need to know, which is less than 3 weeks from now. And so, I mean, everything, all hell breaks loose on July 1. Is that right? Is that what's going to happen here?
Yeah, because again, the part with the players getting paid directly from the schools, there's another nuance to that too. And where it's like, they're trying to just say this clearinghouse is also going to be like, well, this person's value is X. Do you really think that everybody's going to let somebody else determine their value? There's this word called lawyer that's going to come into that too. It's just not realistic. So yeah, it's just not. Any deal outside the athletic department is going to get scrutinized, and they're just going to sue them into oblivion. And I'm telling you, it's just going to be bags of cash again. That's all it's going to be.
Well, I mean, hey, people have been asking for the good old days, and I guess they're going to get it now with the old school ways of recruiting, whether it's football, basketball, or if volleyball and soccer survive. Maybe that's just how it's all going to go down. And this House settlement, it's so brand new, and there's still so much to learn, but the core here is it's going to impact recruiting and guys in the transfer portal immediately, and all that goes into effect on July 1. How will it impact the Hoosiers? Couldn't tell you. We're going to have to just wait and see what every athletic department in the country decides, and that includes right here in Bloomington. Brian Smith, our Locked On recruiting expert, host of the Portal Podcast. Plug it, my man. Tell them what you got going on in what might be the busiest month of the year so far.
That's right. The Portal Podcast every day. I've got something 7 days a week. Recruiting updates, who's committed, where they're going, recruiting visit previews, rankings, player rankings, everything you can imagine. Portal Podcast. Check it out.
This has been Locked On Hoosiers. Thanks to Brian for joining us. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Indiana football recruiting, where it is. If you think they're going to get some players, and your thoughts on the House settlement and how college athletics are never going to be the same. And make sure on your audio podcasting platforms as well that you are following us there. Send it to somebody who has not heard it yet, and make sure that you are following if possible. We are back tomorrow for another episode, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.